part 4.
Part 4.
And I think we left you at the point just now about Mark talking about his big juicy red tomatoes, which sounded lovely, but that's another subject. Going back to my revelation, wow, my dad's now out of the organisation, sat down again in this very basement. A lot of things happen in this basement, if the walls could tell. He sat down here and he said, well, I've got a confession to make to you. And I said, okay. And he said, when you were a baby, you had a hole in your heart, and you were rushed to Gloucester Hospital, and you basically were going to die. And as a 20-year-old man being faced with losing his firstborn child, the doctors came rushing over to me and said, your daughter needs a blood transfusion. And now, bearing in mind, he and my mother were both witnesses at the time, my dad basically took the decision straight away, do what you have to do. And I was told by my dad that as a baby I had actually had a blood transfusion. Shock! Now, this is somebody, me, who their entire life has been a Jehovah's Witness, advocating you can't have blood, having a blood card carrying around with my entire life saying no blood, can't have blood.
When she was a pioneer, would have gladly died.
If I'd have been knocked over or needed a blood transfusion, would have happily
died for it.
Let me die.
See the irony?
When I was a baby, with no knowledge, actually had a blood transfusion.
Yeah. It just needs a little bit of thinking thought around that one.
Not many people know that.
No, well, we
you all
do
now.
The world knows it now.
The world knows it now. Shock.
Yeah, that was quite something.
But you know what? He told me at the right time. If he'd have told me while I was a Jehovah's Witness, I think I'd have been quite suicidal almost. To be quite fair. But because I was at a position where I had already learnt about the blood, because Mark had done so much research on it. At some of the conversations we had were quite hilarious, because looking back on them anyway, at the time they weren't. What do you mean you would let our children have blood? This is me. You can't let our children have blood.
Well, actually,
blood, blah, blah, blah.
That's probably of interest to a lot of people out there, that there might be in split marriages about this type of thing. Is about the blood issue, and you might be in a position where you might feel very passionately one way or the other, and your partner might be the opposite view. And what I would say is that you have to think very carefully. Take the emotion out of this. Take away the emotion and just look at exactly what you're dealing with.
The facts.
Just look at the facts. And one of the first things to do is probably look at the macro. Look at the larger picture of where the organisation is right now. You've got a group of men in America that are saying to you that it's okay to die. It's okay to die for not taking blood. In fact, we'll even show you as being someone that's standing up for the Word of God. But actually, what we'd say is abstract that for a minute. Look at the fact that there are, and I'm going to bring this up in other videos, there are a lot of people out there that are taking transfusions right now, and there are a lot that aren't and are dying. So you've got two groups of people in the JWs that are doing that. We'll come on to that a bit later. But what I'm trying to get at here is that this particular lady, back in those days, that would have been horrific. If word had got out that she was actually doing that, this was a baby that had someone else's blood in her, even though it only lasts for 8 days inside the cycle system, people would have looked at her in such a different way.
Which is why it brings me on to the point about my family. I've always felt that I had to work extra hard for their attention. When it comes to my grandmother, my auntie, my uncle, my mother, I've always felt I've had to work extra hard and be almost overly pleasing, trying to do everything right. And I don't know whether that has a lot to do with it, because I always had this approving looks, even though I was doing everything right. I don't know. I don't know. I'm not around them anymore to ask them a question, so it's one that's up for discussion with them probably in the future if ever they decide to talk to me about it. I'd hope that they'd look at this video and maybe tune in and then ask me, well, actually I've got a point on that fact. So it'd be interesting, and I'd like to talk to them about it if ever they get the opportunity to. But
I never felt, and I'll be honest with you, Annie, I never felt, whenever you were with your family in the organisation, you used to overcompensate for your presence there with everybody, your generosity, your time, your smiles, your laughter and everything else. You used to come home very tired sometimes, while other people would just look at you, and I always felt that you were never quite accepted by them. And I could never, when I first met you and I first met them, I couldn't understand why your reception with them was so cool. I've never understood that. And it bothered me, and we've talked about this a number of times, and I wonder if it has something to do with the revelation that you've just recently found out about your blood transfusion, and that they all knew about it, and you were the only one that didn't know about it. That would make sense with the mind control systems of thinking that they're in. That would explain a lot to me as to the way I was seeing you as a third party, my beautiful wife, whom with people outside this organisation think she's absolutely wonderful, and they all warm to her straight away. But with her family, I didn't get that at all. I got something very different. I got, oh, she's a lovely lady, but I knew full well, because I got to know you lot, and you've never looked at this lady with the strength of feeling that I see with other people who are total strangers sometimes. But with her family, it was a very reserved, almost, well, you're lucky to be in our presence type thing. And that used to really get my goat. Nothing to do with religion. I just thought I'm being a bit spiteful there, but that's exactly what I saw from you people with her, my wife. I wonder.
now, going on that feeling of wanting to work extra hard for their approval, you can kind of understand now how difficult it was, a decision for me to go against what they was. Oh, don't put a letter in just yet. Fade away. I wanted to please them yet again, as I've always tried to do through my entire life. And it would have been very easy for me to have said, oh, yes, sir, 3 bags full, sir.
Fade
okay,
away.
sir.
Fade
I'll
away.
do that, and try and
Live a
do
lie.
what they wanted me to do, just to keep their approval. But there comes a point where you think this isn't about man's approval anymore,
No, it's not.
or the approval of my family. It's a bigger picture, and this is about my conscience standing before my God, and I can't continue on this conveyor belt of lies. When
That's a very
I
good
know
expression.
the truth now, I need to be able to stand up for the first time in my life and hold my hands up against you all, which is not something I've ever done, and say, sorry, but I'm going to be on my own mindset right now,
Based
and
on
say,
honesty.
this is what I believe, and I am going to stick by this belief, even if you do not approve of that anymore. So looking at them and getting their disapproval was a massive thing. And I'd only just felt like I started to get their approval by them accepting to come on holiday and do all these different... So to suddenly go against them and go, within the space of a few weeks ago, sorry, it took a lot of strength and a lot of growing up and a lot of faith and belief. So when they said, keep trusting in Jehovah, actually for the first time in my life, I was standing up and going, for the first time, I'm going to go against you all and stand up for what I believe in. And trust in my God, and trust in the decision I'm making, even if I think that it's going against what you all think I should do. So
I would say with that since that time we've made prayers together and singly to look exactly what that means, and because we've actually made that big step, the big leap, and for my wife Cora that was far more difficult in some ways, because she's saying goodbye to her family. She knew she would be as a result of this. But you know what happens as a result, and this is another message of, this isn't a negative message, this is a very positive one. As a result of saying no, we want truth. We want truth because we know that's exactly what the scriptures tell us to pursue. Truth, not lies, to actually look at exactly what we're doing in truth. Now, we never had truth while we were there. Since we've prayed about it and started to look at exactly what we are dealing with, yes, we felt vulnerable. We felt very vulnerable. We come out of this and you feel naked. You think, oh, where are we going? We're on a whim, and as they say, a prayer. And it's that prayer that suddenly all sorts of avenues and doors started to open to us. We actually prayed, please show us the way, give us the light now, give us exactly what we need to move forward so that we're not left in this position of being desperate of where we go from here. We've made the decision to leave this organisation, and that's exactly what we did. And as a result, things started flooding in, and we couldn't believe just exactly where it's all come from, including you dear people on the internet. So it's a very big story. It's growing, and we're excited. We're very happy with the decision we made. No regrets. And yeah, we've had our sad times looking back, but
there's still a lot more to tell you.
We want our family out.
Yeah, I'm going to come on to some subjects later on about my mum. I haven't discussed my mother yet. And the next video I do on my own, probably with Mark, I don't know yet.
It's up to you, honey.
Will be about that, and I think you'll understand where we are and how frustrated I am. But anyway, that's another story. So hopefully you'll tune in for that one when we do it.
My goodness, you've all been very patient, gone through all these different films, so we'd just like to leave it there, and we hope that you've understood something and taken something from it. Goodbye for now.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Take care. Bye-bye.